Welcome to Business Partners,
a podcast for couple colleagues building a business and life together.
Through interviews, we'll share common struggles and stories unique to partners living and working side by side.
Listen in as we learn what works and doesn't work when working together as a couple.
You ready to do this?
Let's get down to business. Today on Business Partners, we're joined by Studio Delger.
Studio Delger is an independent graphic design and marketing practice based here in Nashville, Tennessee.
They make beautiful things for nice people. Services include brand identity, graphic design, websites, wayfinding, and environmental design. Nicole and Tim, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Tim and Nicole, Delger, Studio Delger to Business Partners Podcast. We're so happy to have y'all. Some fellow designers in the house.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Did you argue about the questions that I sent last night?
Yeah.
Only a little bit.
It's just a little.
A little bit.
We had to get our story straight.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's important. Are you guys Enneagram people? A lot of people down here love the Enneagram.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it down here? Is that like a Southern thing?
It's kind of a Southern thing.
Is it?
It's a Southern
Oh, I
thing.
didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm from Wisconsin and definitely wasn't a thing here or up there.
Yeah.
I'm way into it now, though. So I'm curious what your numbers are.
Yes. Well, I'm a 3, and I love to tell people I'm a 3. I'm very proud of being a 3. And Tim,
I've never taken it, taken the test, but everybody says I'm a 9, and it seems to be good. So
yeah.
it's the best one. So,
You agree? You think he's a 9?
Yeah.
What do you like about being a 3 so much?
Well, we were actually just reading through the descriptions of a 3 and a 9 the other day on a car trip home. I think our kids are asleep or listening to their TVs at that point. But and so I started reading about a 3, and it's just like, it was so funny because it was just like they are they work really hard. They're very success driven at their best. They're successful, and it said something about having charisma. And I was like, Tim, do you know why I'm so tired every night? Like, all this charisma is exhausting.
It's a heavy burden to bear.
It's 8 p.m. I need to go to bed. I am such a 3. I'm like, I'm tired. It's been a long day of being a 3.
Heavy charisma.
Yeah. So I think I'm proud of it, but and of course they all have their weaknesses and their strengths.
Yes, they do.
what are you guys? Are we allowed to ask you?
Of course, yeah. I am a 7 with an 8 wing. So an enthusiast with a challenger side.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a 1, so I'm a reformer.
But I think he has a 9 wing.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means? So like if your number is next to another number, a lot of times you will take on one of the traits of either one of those types. And he's definitely the peacemaker.
And I'm pretty sure mine says lack of charisma.
There you go.
Yeah, I kind of joke. If I'm at my best, I'm leaning more toward a 2, and I'm caretaking, and then when I'm like not at my best, I lean a little bit more toward the 4 of kind of wanting to be identified as a certain way. Not that people are such creative people and creative forces, but for me, it's not my healthiest direction.
Yes. Oh, I totally understand that. Yeah. When I'm into my worst parts of me, it's the 8. Like to over challenge, perhaps.
What?
Did I balance that out over the years? Anyway, it's not about me anyway. Before we get into how you came to be business partners, tell us how you met and came to be partners.
Yeah, we worked at the same advertising agency, and I like our meet cute because we had seen each other at this advertising agency. I think at the time it was like 700 people's big agency, and I had a couple different dreams that like this guy at work that I did not even know his name. We were together. So I was out at a bar one night with I had been switched into a new team, and he walked by and I said, "Oh, I had a dream about him." And my coworker was like, oh, Tim Delger, you guys would be so cute. And she has a bit of a trickster personality and went up to Tim without me knowing and said, Nicole has a huge crush on you and really wants to run her fingers through your hair.
Nice.
Just quite a setup. And so when Tim and I were finally introduced later that night, he ran his hands through my hair, which of course really surprised me because I had no knowledge that trick had been played. And he realized that pretty quickly that he had.
It's not really a cool thing to do, walk up to somebody and start touching them. Not okay, really.
Yeah, thankfully it was like 2007. So I guess men definitely still do that at the time. Now I would not have won. It's like, yeah, I kind of went like, and then I just said, oh, you can do that again. And kind of, we had a laugh. And then I think about a month or two later, we started dating.
That's cute. Yeah. So were you on the creative team and you were on the account team?
I did an interesting job at that agency. I ran internal communications, which is just kind of a communications function. Sometimes it lives out of your comms department at a big company. Sometimes it lives with HR. So I was managing all employee communications, but it just happened to be at an advertising agency. So that was really a fun job in my early 20s.
That's awesome.
I was an art director there.
An art director?
Yeah.
And did you study design in school?
Yeah, I went to school for, the degree was called communication design. It was essentially art direction and graphic design at the University of North Texas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And then the agency that y'all met at was in Austin, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were in Austin at the time. We were there for another 5 years and then kind of bopped around to other cities after that. But we got met and married in Austin.
Okay. So you met and then like how soon till you got married?
It took...
it was about 3 years,
3 years. 3 years. A year of dating, a year of living together, a year of being engaged, kind of a nice cadence. I probably would have married Tim within the first 6 months.
Oh, that's so sweet. You know.
He's like, let's get to know each other.
I kind of knew. It was like, if I start dating this person, this is it. So it just took a while to make it official, but I mean, we were locked in pretty quick.
Oh, that's sweet.
Once you touch the hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Once you touch the hair.
Yeah. I think on our second date, a mutual friend that was a little older than us was like, man, Tim, better lock her up. And it was like, second.
Lock her
just, like not.
It's like, she's the Marion type. Like,
thank you. Yes, we're both. It's where, like not what you were
later. He was right. Turns out.
Well, how'd you guys end up here?
I'm from Nashville. So it was, definitely once we started dating, it was like, oh, well, I will live in Nashville. That's my ultimate destination. And so thankfully Tim got behind that. And so that really actually was like the seeds for us, I think in some ways, knowing that we were going to have a business together, just because with Tim as an art director at bigger agencies, we were in Austin and then we were in LA and then San Francisco after that. We knew, okay, if we're going to be in a market like Nashville, we'll probably eventually want to have our own thing or do our own thing.
I mean, we knew it was unspoken, but clear that we were going to land in Nashville. And, but I was working like big advertising agencies and that was kind of my career path at the time. And so, I knew I needed to sort of move around a little bit to move up in that. And, but the whole time, anytime a headhunter would call me or like reach out, I would just be like, well, I'm not looking to move now, but if you hear of something in Nashville, let me know. Just knowing like I wanted to get on these people's notes is like, with Nashville next to my name.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it's not like a huge industry of advertising here. So it's like, oh, if somebody there needs me, I want to be on the list. And so, it worked out perfectly. When Nicole was 6 months pregnant, got a call from an agency here in town and made the move.
Nice. All right. Tell us more about your studio, what you guys do, what your target audience is.
Oh man, our target audience.
Yeah.
Well, we're I would say a graphic design and branding studio, just focused on visual identity. We do quite a broad range of work with a focus in products and packaging and places and just sort of branding of all sorts of different types of projects. So our target audience, I mean, it's anything from somebody starting a new business tomorrow to, a huge company that's been around for a while and wants a new perspective on things. We've really not carved our niche too small just yet.
Right. I think when you have a creative business, of course, strategically, it'd be like, we do graphic design for transportation systems, and we are experts in that, and there is value to that. And I definitely see why firms do that, and they get that level of expertise. But then I think if you also have that struggle of like, well, we're really creative and we love a new challenge. And like, yes, like, we have a long time client. It's a pencil factory. Pencil's cool, wayfinding for a hotel, amazing. Like, we kind of want to sink our teeth into a lot of places. So we're still figuring out the right balance of differentiating ourselves and being open to the kind of creative work that really keeps you motivated.
I empathize with that struggle a lot.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, your work's incredible.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
thank you.
We're huge fans. So how did you guys start the business together? Why did you start the business together?
Well,
I mean, Well, we've been making stuff together since we started. I mean, like we were talking about, we did all of our like wedding design together, and so we've always had projects from the get-go. We just work really well together.
Yeah, and so when we moved from Austin to Los Angeles, I took a job and ended up not being totally happy there. And then the writing was on the wall of like, okay, we're going to move a bunch. And I missed the agency kind of environment, working on a lot of different things. In that role, I really had a lot of ability to kind of be a self-starter. So I started doing independent marketing consulting. And so I was like, then when we move for Tim's career, I'll have the flexibility that I'll keep my clients and I won't have to just start my career over every time we moved. And so that laid a really great foundation for me, just understanding what it's like to run your own business and doing my own accounting and writing proposals and things like that. And of course, I was lucky doing marketing consulting that Tim could moonlight on my clients and provide graphic design or creative direction when I needed it. And so our LLC is under like Nicole Delger Communications. That's where I originally started.
Gotcha.
And so that's been 10 years of over 10 years of that. And then that opened up our relationship with Musgrave, which is a pencil factory that we do a lot of work for. And we've been with them for about 5 years. And, we always knew like when the right client came along, that could be the foundation for Tim to be able to leave his full-time job. And so once we really created a relationship with them, and of course, we never take a client for granted or assume that they're always going to be with us, but it's such a cherished relationship. And I think we all see value on both sides, and we're so close to that client. We know that will be an important foundation for us. And so then it was like, okay, well, we know we have this level of income coming in because this is a retainer agreement over time. And so then we were able to kind of start to pull in the other clients where Tim could make that jump. And so we used to joke about it being like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where like, you've got two cars and they're speeding full speed and you're like, you have to jump from one car to another. And so especially before Tim quit at his other agency, it felt like there were two cars moving at top speed. And that felt good to finally make that jump.
That's it.
Or Jean-Claude, what did you do the splits in between? That was actually Tim. Just
That's
imagine.
exactly what I pictured between two cinder blocks.
Did it slow down once you partnered together, or did it feel like more relaxed, or was it just a different level of stress?
I mean, I don't know. It was less stressed for sure, just because of different stuff at kind of just the dynamic of working in an agency versus like literally in your house. It's a different deal. And I mean, since we actually like each other, it's gone really well. Yeah. There's no like weird politics to deal with, bureaucracy, we can we can really get some shit done. And so it felt a lot like we had taken the governor off, and just were jamming right along. And so, yeah, my stomach was in knots for months before I really officially left that job because, there's just, you're kind of leaving this security and familiarity. then we just like hit the ground running, and it's been better than I really anticipated, since then, for sure.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So what are your specific roles?
Did you kind of keep the communication side of things and you do the graphic side, or how do you?
I try to make things pretty, and Nicole does everything else.
That sounds fun.
I do a lot of strategy and writing for our clients. So we are able to offer those elements. The busier that we get doing bigger visual and branding projects, and the more that takes from me from an operations standpoint. So project management or writing contracts or managing our clients, it has been a little struggle for me to then turn around and be like, now I'm going to write a beautiful mission statement for this client. Like it's a little hard for me to turn on and off the creativity. So we do better. I think me moving more into operations is better, but I know that Tim misses me when I'm not creatively contributing. So you kind of have to say like, I'm going to be creative today and I'm going to put the operations stuff aside. But Tim is able to really focus on full-time being creative. And I can just quickly be like, look at this contract, look at this timeline. And he's not having to do that stuff, which I know is probably always a challenge for designers that are running a business, because it's hard to go from being creative to doing operations.
It is
very tricky.
Yes. I like that idea of kind of time blocking. Like, okay, Tuesday is my creative day and Wednesday is my billing day or whatever. Because I feel that struggle too. We're constantly switching back and forth, and like,
it's tough.
Yeah. That's smart. So Tim, you said that running a business together is better than you expected. And I'm curious if you could expand on that a little more.
Well, I mean, I don't know what I expected, but I think I had all these fears of like, being poor. I really didn't. I really just didn't anticipate. I mean, we had like a really awesome year last year, and I didn't really anticipate like, oh wow, like even though I don't know where it's coming from, work just keeps coming around. And I mean, it's because like we're both, and she, Nicole especially, is doing a lot of work to get new business in here. But I think that was my biggest worry, was around like, well, I guess we're going to have to like stop spending money on groceries, and like we won't, maybe we can sell. I mean, it was really, kind of like not the abundance mindset. You know what I mean? And so that would just be kind of like the biggest thing that I would have anticipated. I knew everything else, like, because we had been doing it for a while. So I knew like, man, we really work well together. Like creatively, we make stuff, strategically, we think well together and make good stuff. So it wasn't like a relationship surprise at all. It was more just like, oh, we can actually do this. And like, you just have to pay for your own health insurance, and, fine.
You always are like, as a couple, there's a gas and a brake and a gas and a brake. And I definitely I'm very futuristic. It used to be a strain on our relationship because we were like dating, and I was like, well, when are we going to get married? And it made Tim crazy until we finally took a personality test, and it was like, oh, that's a personality characteristic of Nicole. Like, I'm very, very futuristic, and I tend to see like an endless upside. So it was like, let's start our business. Like, we're going to do great. It's going to be awesome. Like I could only ever see the upside. And of course it's good that Tim is like, maybe it's not, what if I did have to sell my car? I mean, right. Like we're always kind of going back and forth. So it would be, I can't say like, I told you it was going to be great. It was just, I really was hoping, and I'm glad that I was correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus like an I was right kind of thing. But I think it's good to always have that balance.
I agree. I think, there's been times in our working together where I'm like, I need you to be the guest, where usually maybe that's where I live. Usually I'm like, everything's going to be great. It's going to work out. And then, you have those days where you're like, shit, we're not going to pay the bills. We're never going to new clients. And that's when like, it's so helpful if you have that dynamic of, oh, that's my sign to like, I'm going to be the guest today, because she's the brakes.
Those roles are interchangeable for us. Some days I need the pep talk. Some days she does.
Yeah.
So what would you say? It can't all be roses working together. So what would be, is there a common struggle that you run into?
I mean, I think one thing that is particularly challenging is the life stage that we're in. So we have, a 6.5-year-old and an almost 8-year-old. So we have 2 young kids. And, for us, it was always like, we're going to be married, we're going to have our own business, and we're going to raise kids. And the business stuff is rosy. We would never guess how hard the kid part would be, so it's really like our business time is a time where we're able to connect and see each other at our best and have fun together and play together. And then for us, it's like slowing down, plugging into our kids, balancing what that looks like is, of course, it's fun and rewarding because, and nobody wants to be like, kids are so hard, but so that's definitely, I think, more of where we find our moments of like tension and frustration and working it out is like when you have to work together all day and then turn around and parent together and you're tired and things like that. So if anything, I think we're so thankful that we have a business together because we get to have this outside of our children that's so special and connecting.
I mean, it's kind of the work we do is like pretty fun. And so we kind of talked about it like we're each of us like playing our video game. Like, I mean, she's looking at a spreadsheet like, oh, you're playing your video game. Because it's really like, it's kind of addicting and hard to like let go, especially when you're like in the flow of something. So I think that, we don't have I really don't think we have anything where we're like fighting or upset with each other. It's more just like, we have to really be intentional of like, take a break. Like this is the weekend. Like it's nighttime. Like let's just like not be on the computer. You know?
Yeah. That's definitely a common theme that's bubbled up in other interviews too. Couples have very like different rules about boundaries because it seems to be such a struggle to turn it off.
Yes. Yeah. We don't, I think we have to have boundaries in the moment rather than trying to come up with like arbitrary rules. Like we don't talk about business after 8 p.m.
Yeah.
We definitely talk about business after 8 p.m.
But I think that's a strength, because someone can hit you at any time. It's more just like, you really don't want to be like looking at your screen at like 9:30. That's not going to be very good.
And I don't know why this has happened, but our past 2 long vacation car trips, we got a naming brief right before we left. And so we would be on the car trip and then Tim would be like, what about tin can? And I just remember I cannot brainstorm names in the car. I don't know what it is. Like write it down. I can't do this. It's just so funny. So in the moment you can have a boundary with each other where you're just like, I can't do this right now. But, short of that, you do have to be open when the idea hits you and let the other one go through it.
I like your impression of Tim.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I was like, here comes the dude voice.
I'm sure your girl voice is much more flattering, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
So have you guys changed anything about your business or how you function since you started?
We've grown and we've added new people. So we're kind of managing. We have an intern that's currently with us that'll move into full-time this summer. And then we have a freelancer that we're working with more and more. So that part of the business has changed. So now we're managing each other and managing people.
I think we got our stuff in gear pretty early of like, project management and sort of different like roles. And I mean, it's really clear cut who's doing what. And I think that's only kind of cemented itself. So, yeah.
I think now that we're like more into the day-to-day grind, one thing that I think has stuck with me, which is really good for me personally, is, Tim and I we're generally, we're not fighters. I mean, I kind of joked about arguing before, but we don't argue that much. And, when we have had to like kind of hash something out, maybe it's like creatively hash something out for a client and kind of get into it with each other. It's a confrontational space where in the context of our relationship, it's like, I would feel so unsafe in my relationship if we were arguing all the time, but I can practice having a really hard conversation with someone where it's such a good thing for me to cultivate, because normally I maybe would shut down, or maybe I wouldn't kind of go after or stand my ground to a coworker in the same way. And it almost allows me to develop that part of myself because I know we're safe as a couple. And so I love kind of the safeness of being a married business partner that it makes me better to have really hard work conversations. So I do think that in the past year or so, as we've had bigger and bigger projects where we've had to really work something out or figure something out, you can do it in this really safe and direct way. And then it allows you to turn around and have other conversations in a safe and direct way because you almost got to practice with your partner a little bit.
That's such a good perspective.
Yeah, it is.
Wisdom right there.
Business Partners Podcast is proudly brought to you by Apple and Anchor.
Apple and Anchor create strategy-first brands and websites for startups.
As a busy business owner, you may have a great idea for your branding or website, but feel overwhelmed about what's required to bring it to life.
We provide a clear, step-by-step plan for your brand strategy, visual identity, and web design.
Check out our work and book a clarity call at appleandanchor.com.
And now, back to the show.
Where do you see the studio in 5 years?
She's a futuristic one.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
I saw your eyes light up when I
We're talking about the future?
Yeah.
No, we look at, you said it best about, can we be creative and have that pay our mortgage? Oh my gosh, how amazing. We get to be creative for our clients. And so as long as we're doing that, that's kind of the foundation. And if we can slowly bring other people on board so that they can use their creativity to pay their mortgage, oh my gosh, that's like a bonus. And we can work with great people and do really great things. So I think thoughtful growth is definitely on our mind. We're Studio Delger. We have the worst business model ever. We cannot clone ourselves. We can't scale ourselves. We can't sell this. We can't sell what we're making here. And that's okay because the upside of that is your marketing to someone is like, you get access to us. Our name is on this business. You know exactly who you're getting. You're going to get to talk to the executive creative director, right? Like that. There's also benefits in kind of really being a family owned business. So as we're looking ahead, we're not, we can't crazy quickly scale. This is not a scalable business model, but I do think we can create a team that has the same ethos as us and what we stand for and thoughtfully build that team and hopefully continue to bring in clients who have an appetite for creativity and have, want to make something really cool.
As you're thinking about those like opportunities to flex your creativity, what type of projects would be like in your dreams?
Ooh.
I really gravitate towards anything that I can that's tangible, like in touch, packaging is great and like public art and wayfinding stuff is awesome stuff. And, I have no fear of large scale work. So like, I want my shit to be seen from space. I go big. I'm happy to go big. But also like, this is a question I asked like when I was very early intern in like just still in school. I asked a copywriter this idea of like, what's your dream client? And I was expecting like Nike. Right. And he was like, the truth is it's more fun to do. You can do really great work for anyone if they're nice and like good people. So, even like a boring business, if it's like a really nice person you're working for and it's like a good relationship, like you really can't beat that. So
that's so true.
Big giant stuff for really nice people.
Yeah, and it's like we have a dream client. We have a dream client with Musgrave, and I've talked about them a lot. And so it's like we say all the time, we just need one more Musgrave. I don't know if we could even make that, but like just a cool product. Would be amazing. So I feel like we have to be so grateful for what we have. And we've done a bunch of work with a developer here in Nashville, AJ Capital. And that was really a really fun run. And the big tickets mural, you can't see it from space, but you can definitely see it pretty far away.
Google Street View, maybe.
Yeah, Google Street View. So we feel like we want to, be grateful for the things that we have gotten in touch, which have been so exciting. And, of course, I think anybody that's like nice with an appetite for creativity and that trusts you, because it's so demotivating if you present work and then they're like, oh, can I see it? 7 different ways. Not that that's not the right, but it's kind of better when you're working in creative partnership and you can say, well, this is, when we present work to Musgrave, this is a great example where like, we'll show them 4 things, but we'll show them, well, this is what we started with, and this is how we changed it, and this is where we went next, but this is where we landed. And so it's like we're showing them 4 options, but we're really just showing them where we got to. And they're like, sounds great. Like, oh my gosh, if every client could be that trusting and could see your creativity evolve and things like that. So I think, anybody that was looking for a great, trusted creative partner.
I think that's a really unique approach to like bring your client kind of behind the curtain and show them like your iterations along the way. I haven't heard of that, but I bet it really creates a lot of trust. Mm-hmm. And so that's why they don't need to second guess your first choice.
I mean, if you can get yourself into that situation, it's like, it makes the whole process so much more smooth. But you have to, we've taken a long time with them to build trust, and they have put a inordinate amount of trust in us too. So it's just kind of naturally there. But another example is sometimes we'll do work for everybody. We'll do work for like a family member who owns a business somewhere, right? And like in that scenario where trust is high and the stakes are like relatively low, you can do the same thing where like I've sent like a finger sketch on my iPhone of like what I think this t-shirt should look like, and just like texted it and, gotten the thumbs up that way. So it's a good thing if you have a client relationship that's kind of close to just test and see how gnarly a sketch you can send somebody, but like with like open, like honesty, like just here's what I'm thinking. I think people really like that too. They like to get involved in that piece of the process.
We have another client where the 2 founders is an old friend from college, and I was talking to their, kind of chief of staff about the naming project, and I'm just, because we have the relationship and the trust is there, I was just like, this is so hard. It's like, when you say that to a client, when can you say, oh, this is killing me, but they did it, because I feel like sometimes creativity can be really hard work. It's problem solving a lot of the times. And so if you try to go to your client with, I've got a corner on the smarts and like, trust us, this is it, rather than saying, this is how I solved this puzzle for you. Get a lot more trust when they feel like they're seeing and understanding how you did the work and how you got to where you got.
Totally agree. All right. I have a juicy question, and then he'll bring it back to vanilla. No, it's just on a list here. If you could change one thing about how you work with your partner, I don't want to say about your partner, but like how your dynamic of working together, what would you change?
Oh, well, I feel like I know what Tim would say about me, because he teases me about this, which I'm a terrible note taker, and like I should our service arm. And so we'll get done with the meeting. I'm like, okay, so what did they say? He's like, you are account service. Like,
luckily, I'm a really good rememberer. So, really
good. So it balances it out. That's a hard one to.
I mean, I really enjoy when we're like really creatively collaborating. It's not always the case because, billing in spreadsheets doesn't like necessarily allow for that. So just whenever we do have the chance to like actually hash out something strategically or tactically or whatever, I really enjoy that. So, if I could have like another Nicole to do that, that'd be good.
That's a really good safe answer, Tim.
5-year plan.
Well, you change it about working with Nicole is adding another Nicole. That is really
just more Nicole. Just need more.
What about saying, I'm wanting to talk to you about this thing I want you to change? Let's do it. Yeah. Let's do it live.
Let's do
it. Can you each share one tip for other couples that work together?
Yeah, I think we have a couple. One thing a book we read when we first, officially started as a business unit. So of course we like to say we've been doing this for 10 years together, but paying our own health insurance for 5 years and really being
for 2 years
being self-employed. Is we read Cal Newport's book. It's called Deep Work. And it's about kind of making space for long periods of creativity, uninterrupted time. Yes. for creativity. And so that's one thing that we try to really be sensitive to the other one. And we haven't been as good lately, but not interrupting the other one who's in flow.
Well, we do good. I mean, we read it at the same time. So it was like, we're super on the same page about this philosophy, and it's really good. And so now, like, we're in the middle of our day and like, we're both in flow, but I'll need something or she'll need something. We'll just like almost under our breath, like, okay, I need to talk to you. And that person will just know that like, whenever they get to a stopping point, there's something, but we won't like just cut each other's flow off. So that's like a huge deal to be aligned on for sure.
That's a really...
And then the other thing, and this is part of this deep work kind of philosophy, and this is what he recommends, although at any project management software, but we use Trello to manage all of our clients, and that acts as kind of a shared brain for us. And we will still tag each other and write each other notes rather than tell each other, even though we're married and we're sitting right beside each other, kind of having this shared brain that's literally a piece of software. So, deep work and a shared project management software have been really key to keeping us on track.
I think too, we kind of hit on this, but like, I really would advise somebody to embrace the fact that you can always be working if you want. Yeah. Not that you should, but like, don't just try to cut it off at a certain time, because it's kind of fun to just be on a walk and like be able to talk about some work stuff and, just random time. So I think I've heard other couples talk about trying to put like, I don't know, limits or schedules. And I just say,
I don't even know what we would talk about.
Yeah. We're
literally
like,
just
it could be hard to talk about your children.
Yeah. You cannot talk about work. We'd be like,
what else is there?
Yeah. Like, I'm not a huge TV watcher. I think I'm just on a screen all day at work. So I can't, I'm not great about watching too much television just because like, I'm like, overstimulated. Yeah. So I read a lot, but I know he didn't want to talk about my weird metaphysical books,
Why?
No, I love that. We heard another couple say that they don't apply these arbitrary rules too, because it's a perk. Like, working together can be challenging. It is challenging to have that pressure of being the sole providers for the household. Mm-hmm. So one advantage is you get to talk about work in a deep way that you wouldn't get to otherwise. If you're just coming home from your 8 to 5s, you're like in it together and have a deep knowledge of all of the kind of problem spots and things to be excited about. So to not talk about it outside of work, when you're on walks and whatnot, I feel like you're missing out on one of the perks, So mm-hmm. I liked that. I like that way of looking at it, just like you said, Tim.
Yeah.
Last question, and that's: have we asked anything or not asked anything that we should have asked?
What I was thinking is, we're just experiencing this a little bit because we have a student who's working with us as a designer, and we have,
we've met, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. And so it's funny because we've noticed that we will both give direction to them at the same time. And often we're hashing out what needs to be done with each other at her. And so it's just, I don't know. It's something that I become like aware of like, it feels like, mom and dad are fighting, but we're like working this out. And I bet it's hard to take direction from two people.
Yeah. At the same time.
Yeah, when they're like conflicting. And so I don't know. I just think I would be really interested to hear other couples talk about like jointly managing, the creative process. Because that's one for us. It's like, I don't think we do a bad job, but it's definitely messier than like bureaucratic layers.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to like diffuse and joke. Like, we will be like, oh, mom and dad are fighting. We have to like literally just like stop and give everybody a group and then kind of decide who gets the final call. Sometimes my role will be, I kind of put my client hat on. So I'm trying to kind of predict, okay, this is how the client's going to react to it so that we can get the creative in a place. So when we present it, that we can get it. Yeah. Move the ball on the line. Yeah. So I'm like, well, I kind of have to be like, this is what I think the client's going to say. This is how it needs to. And so that's they're kind of seeing us work that tension out.
Yeah. Hash it out real time. That's a really good question. I want to add that to your list about like management styles, how other couples kind of define how that looks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You guys have been awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you so much.
I'm very strange to have like one way, like it feels like I want to now interview
you. Want to reciprocate?
Well, it's so rude. We won't talk to ourselves.
It's very strange.
We'll just have to hang out.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
How can people find you? Where can they go see your work, follow you, and all of that?
Follow us on Instagram. It'll make me feel really good.
Studio Delger? Is that
Studio Delger on Instagram. Yeah. That leads everywhere, but our website's studiodelger.com.
Yeah. Studiodelger.com.
Check it out.
Yeah. And then Tim's personal is at @tdelger, and it's cool, and it's all behind the scenes stuff. And then mine's like our kids, so you can avoid mine and follow Tim for behind the scenes.
Yeah. Whenever I get around to posting on it. For sure. Yeah.
We know that struggle. Mm-hmm.
Thanks for tuning in to Business Partners.
Find out more about our guests and follow their businesses through the links in our show notes.
Don't forget to rate, review, and share the show with your favorite business partners.
Special thanks to our sponsor, Apple and Anchor.
Now let's get back to business.